Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to flip through my 2025 reading journal. I'm going to show you all of the spreads that I ended up doing for the year. I'm going to tell you the things that worked well this year that will be moving forward, but also the things that didn't work quite as well that I probably will be leaving in 2025. So let's go ahead and get into it. So again, this was my nameplate page and then my official cover page. The pocket worked very well. I did end up losing or misplacing my little thing that had the swatches for my Tombow markers that I was using in here. But having it did work until I got it out and then didn't put it back. So reading goals, I did hit over 100 books last year. I did read every day. I did not, however, keep up with journaling. That one didn't quite work out. Use the library more, take the boys at least twice a month, and utilize Libby and other free resources. I think I did that. We don't go twice a month always. Our book checkouts last 3 weeks, and so we usually just go every 3 weeks whenever they're due. Read more physical books, read my high-end books, read books I already have. I would say read more physical books and read my high-end books definitely was a success. If you don't count trying to take this picture and the book's crashing down, failure. This definitely was a success. Read books I already have, though, I feel like I could have definitely done better with that one. I bought a lot of new books and then read those. So definitely want to get back into that. Finished series and author backlogs was definitely a fail, but I'm going to revisit that in 2026. Plots and plans bingo. I did finish that. I didn't put all the pictures on there, but I did read books for that. My 25 in 2025 bingo could have gone better. I ended up not reading those books like I intended to. The Buzzwordathon kind of was a success. I did end up missing one prompt. The Magical Readathon, I did in fact complete both semesters, and I did the year in Aldia. So I guess that was a success. I like the map thing that I put in here, and I think I want to try to incorporate something like that in my 2026 reading journal. But we'll see how that works and see if I have another like old falling apart book that I can steal a map from. Okay, next up was my bookshelfy thing. And I knew I would have more books than what I could read. I did end up putting all of my books on here. And then remember how I said that I lost my thing that had the colors? You can tell because over here, the 5s were blue, 4s were green, 3s were the tan color, 2s were the purple, and 1s were this pink color. And then by the time I got down here, I forgot what the colors were, and I switched to the purple for 4s and the pink for 2s. I don't know what I was thinking. So anyways, I did end up filling in all of my books even though my color code is wrong. And then on the inside, I just kind of used it as like a coloring sheet while I was listening to an audiobook. And I think it looks cute. I like it. I still like my little moving ladder in there. This is definitely a spread that I will in some way move into my 2026 reading journal. I could actually just take these off. This is removable. So I could just move these little pockets into my new reading journal. I don't know if I will yet or if I want to track that in a different way. I need to be figuring that out because I need to set up my 2026 reading journal. I've been sick. You can give me a break. I've been sick. Okay. This spread is one that definitely will not be going forward. I bought so many books and I ended up not putting them in here. Like, I gave this up pretty quickly early in January. So that won't be moving forward. I don't know if I need to do like a DNF page again. I thought maybe having this would make me DNF more books, and I think, well, I don't know. My thing is that if I only read like a page or two of a book, I feel like I haven't fully committed. So I don't call that a DNF. But once I get a good portion of the way into a book, I like usually force myself to finish it so that I haven't wasted my time. So I don't know that I actually need a DNF spread. I think the way that I'm going to track my books in my 2026 reading journal, I could just track my DNFs that way. Next up is my 2025 reading challenges. And first and foremost, I have my book bingo. I never did print this cover. And as you can see, I was very close to getting a bingo. One of the ideas that I had for a video for January was to just do one last will I or won't I get a bingo. And I may still do that because I did pull 2 books off of this list for my first reading campaign in 2026. So maybe I might make a video of hopefully finally getting a bingo for once and for all. The plots and plans, like I said, I did end up putting books on here that I didn't have. The Buzzwordathon, like I said, I was able to cover every prompt except for with by the end of the year. And that does kind of bother me that I was one away from that. And then the cover challenge, I did end up meeting all of them. And the issue was when I got to August, I had such a hard time finding a book that covered both prompts because I had been doing books that were both prompts up until that point. And then, I don't know, I just kind of gave up on it for a while. And then when I went back, I was able to fill in the prompts with books I had read other than with. And I just did not have time to squeeze in another book. This past year was the first year that I did the Magical Readathon, and I started off by completing the Novice Path. This is not something that you have to do at all. I just wanted to do it to kind of get the whole entire experience of this readathon. This was like the original thing that they did. So I created my character and I went through the path and all of these things. I will link the video below that's like how to get started with this kind of thing, and it explains all of this pretty well. This was the Year in Audio, which is like a companion thing to the Magical Readathon. So this is like the year-long thing. I did end up completing all of this. I will be moving this forward into 2026. So I'll be doing the Year in Audio, and I won't be doing the book bingo this year, but I will be doing my roll for TBR game that I created, and I will be creating a spread in there to kind of keep track of the rules and the challenges and the prompts and all of that kind of stuff. Upcoming releases is a spread that I will definitely be moving forward. I have started kind of using Goodreads a little bit more. It's not the best book tracking app or whatever, but it was what I used to track this year just to keep track of what books I had read because it was just quick to go into the app and mark it as read. But I actually marked some upcoming releases as to be read or want to read. So I will be creating a spread and going back and putting the books that I marked on there onto the upcoming releases spread. I did kind of use this because I did mark the ones that I ended up buying and had pre-ordered and things like that. So I do want to use this more, so it will be going forward with me. book recommendations and buddy reads. This spread just kind of ended up mostly being books that I buddy read with Alana, and then me and my mom and my sister and Alana, we have like a little book club that we have going on. So I'm going to do a separate spread for that. So books that me and Alana are reading together this year is going to be The Wheel of Time. But then also book club will be getting its own spread. This one, I don't know. I like this spread, but I'm just so bad about keeping up with this. Like when I finish a book and I have to go log it on the app and then come in here and fill it in on the shelfie and fill it in on this. And it just kind of ends up being a little bit much. So I don't know that this spread will be going forward. As much as I think it's cool to look at, you can tell I like didn't even finish filling it in. Also, this was something that I ended up not using. My intention here was to fill this in with books that I found through like YouTube videos or TikTok or whatever. And I bought the 2 books that I heard of that I put on there, but I just didn't come back in here and do that. So I don't know if I will try to do that moving forward. I feel like it's one of those things that kind of comes and goes for me. There have been times in the past where, like, especially when I was reading a lot on Kindle Unlimited, I would see like the TikToks or the things on Facebook or something, and I would go and add it to a wish list. And I wanted to have something in here, but I don't know, especially this year with me wanting to read more backlog books and authors and things like that, I don't know if this is a spread that I'll actually need. This spread would have been useful at the end of the year to quickly add up all of my like pages and things like that. If I had kept up with it, as you can see, I kind of did keep up with the page numbers for a few more months after I was doing this. But I don't know. I like having the statistics, but it just, for some reason, it was hard for me to keep up with that kind of thing this year. So that didn't get finished. And then we move into the monthly spread. So this was January. At this point, my creativity had like gone kaput. So this was not a very creative spread. But the book reviews or whatever that I put in here where I was actually talking about the books, I feel like I put more effort in than I did throughout the rest of the book. As you'll see as time goes on, I just kind of put the name of the book in the picture and then intended to come back and write about the books, and that didn't happen. So I did like a little January wrap up here, which I ended up, this book actually technically finished in February, but I read it mostly in January, which is why it was after the wrap up. But I did count it in my January stats. So this was February, getting a little bit more creative, but I only read 3 books. But I did do my wrap up on this little fold out flap thingy. But again, gorgeous spreads. This is kind of the vibe that I want for logging my books in my 2026 reading journal. So this type of page will be moving forward with us. Okay, then we get into what I intended for my reading journal to be, which was like interactive. And so I have this little like pirate ship tip in. This was all inspired by Tress of the Emerald Sea. So I've got like the map, the spores kind of coming out of her body that's in that book. My little wheel here moves, and then this opens up and I have my stats on it. And then there's the teacups and then the books that I read in March. And here is where this kind of started being a lot less creative. This was my spring equinox magical readathon spread. I just printed this from the Discord and stuck it in here, the syllabus and my calling. Then in April, I kind of did like a Knights and Dragons kind of vibe. I learned how to make a little pop-up castle thing, so that was fun. These I'm not going to pull all the way out because they're so hard to get back in, especially this one. This is a knight on a horse. And then over here, this one is a dragon. Definitely learned, if you're going to do the pull-out tab things, to do them small. The big ones are very hard to go back in and out. My stats I did on the back of these eggs in this one. And then also the sword comes out of this, like a little sword and stone moment. And again, the continuing deterioration of the actual logging of the books in here. And then my least favorite spread, this was meant to be kind of like a secret garden type situation. Like it was going to be like you opened it up and it was like the greenery, which I did, but then you were going to open it up and it was going to be like flowery inside. I don't know what I was thinking, but this ain't it. I don't like this spread. But anyways, I did put my stats on the back of these leaves. Not that one. Okay, I think it was just these 3. And then the books that I read that month are there. And then June, I put my stats inside these little like booklet things. Kind of did like a Elven Ruins kind of setup here. So this kind of like scrapbooky, almost like a journal kind of thing is the vibe going into 2026. So, just ignore that. Ignore all of that. Okay. July, I did an Alice in Wonderland spread. This Alice's Adventures in Wonderland is my favorite book of all time. It kind of was like my introduction to like fantasy worlds and things like that. And it also is what inspired me to want to write fantasy. So I kind of did like a combination of like the book leading into the movie kind of deal here. So, the stats were supposed to go on these little cards, and you can see I kind of started that, but didn't follow through with that. Eventually I could come back and add that in. Ignore that. Okay, and then for the rest of these, I can go ahead and tell you they're not interactive. They're just kind of in that scrapbooky kind of vein that I will have moving forward. August, I kind of did like a dark academia vibe. I was kind of starting my fall spooky season reads, so I was definitely inspired by that. September, I did like a Hogwarts kind of thing, start of term, September 1st, you know the deal. So I did that. And then October, again, was kind of more of like a dark academia kind of thing. And you'll start seeing that I was reading more books than what would really and truly fit on this page. I should have done like a little fold out flap or something like that, but I didn't. And then November, I did dragons. A lot of this stuff was birthday gifts from Alana, the like washi tape and stuff like that. And then I ended up covering most of it because I read so many books that month. So that leads to December, which I kind of went with the same vibe, kind of like a fairy tale castle kind of vibe. Have to represent Donut with the cats. You'll notice that I started adding a couple of cats. Dungeon Crawler Carl was my favorite series this year. And Princess Donut is a cat in that series, and she's one of my favorite characters. So, yeah, definitely filled this up with books in December because I did that thrifted Christmas book vlog where I read 24 of them. All right, and then that leads me into what was going to be like a stats kind of spread, and then I was going to do one for like my favorite books of the year and all that stuff. So I did put like my wrap up. I did all of this in a video. So I did like my year in books from Goodreads and then the graphs that I made. And just kind of stuck that in here. And that does leave me with several pages at the end. But I do feel like I made good use of my 2025 reading journal. I'm hoping in 2026 I can find a better balance in my life of not only reading, but then also having time to actually journal about what I'm reading. So I will be setting up my 2026 reading journal. Like I said, I haven't been feeling well. And let me show you what spread I did when I was not feeling well, when I was sick. That was this one. You see this? I don't want my 2026 reading journal to end up like this. So if I'm not feeling well, I am not going to be creative. I know I'm not going to be. Therefore, I haven't even attempted. But I'm about to finish my first book of the month, which again is insane. Like I made it half the month and I haven't finished a book yet. I don't know what's wrong with me. But anyways, I will be setting that up now that I'm starting to feel more human, and I'm excited. I'm excited about taking some of the things that worked in here, some of the things I loved about this, and moving forward. The interactive pieces I may have, but I'm not going to put the pressure on myself to have a fully interactive reading journal. The pressure of that, I think, is what kind of held me up on this one a little bit, because if I didn't have an idea for like an interactive piece, I felt like, well, I need to wait until I get an idea for an interactive piece. And obviously with how busy I was and everything that was going on, that was not the best way to go about that. So like I said, this year, I think I will be going in a similar vibe, but different. So definitely hang around for that video. I should have brought in my new reading journal to show you, but you'll just have to wait until that video comes out to see it. So anyways, I hope that you enjoyed following along with me as I did this year. I apologize that filming these got so crazy after about the halfway point. But this year, I'm hoping that it's different and that I get to set up each month with you. So anyways, that is it for now. I will see you in another video soon. Bye, guys.